Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, I'm going to be reviewing the 13 books that I read in the month of July. I read a lot of different things actually, some lit fic, some thrillers. I have like one extreme horror, one transgressive fiction, some classics, just like a weird mixture of things as usual. If you're new here, how I do my wrap-ups is I start with the books I like the least, and then I work my way up to the books I like the most. So I start with rants and then end on raves. So the month of July, I had a very like meh reading month. Like a lot of these books I gave 2 stars, 3 stars, like either things didn't live up to the hype or I felt very like neutral, didn't really care. And I just hate feeling like that. I just had a very like month, okay? I did have one star, and if you saw my thriller vlog, I posted like a new thriller vlog, and I went on a whole rant about this book. The book is The Unraveling by Vi Keeland. This is a book about this woman who is like stalking this guy. She's following him. She's taking notes. We don't know what's going on. It turns out she's a psychiatrist and she's been mandated to see another psychiatrist. So we're like, okay, something happened. What's going on here? What's the story? Why is she stalking this guy? And originally, like in the beginning of this book, like the writing was so good, it sucks you in, like it slowly reveals what's going on, and I was hooked. And then this book just kept getting worse and worse and worse, and eventually I was screaming like Longlegs, "Mommy, Daddy, save me!" That's how I felt reading this book. Yeah, I'm sick and tired of like the dumb female main character. This woman was so dumb. She kept putting herself in harm's way purposely because this guy was hot. And it just, I was so sick and tired of fucking reading about this main character being dumb. I was about to throw this book across the room. That's how I felt reading this. This was so bad. This was such a bad thriller. It just kept getting worse. The reveals were ridiculous. Nothing was super shocking. Nothing was all that twisty. Dumb, 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 dumb. It turned into a version of like 50 Shades of Grey meets You by Carolyn Kepnes, but like bad. I don't know. If that sounded good to you, trust me, it's not. I could not stand this book. This was so poorly done in my opinion. Like, oh my god. This is why I kind of stopped reading thrillers, because some of them are just so bad. They're so ridiculous. I digress. Moving into 2-star reads. First 2-star was Set My Heart on Fire by Izumi Suzuki. So this was an arc that I got from NetGalley. This book comes out in November. This is about, it's a work of translated fiction about this author, I believe, unalived herself and wrote a bunch of books that this one felt sort of like autofiction. Like the main character had the same name as the author, and like it was very much a lit fic book about absolutely nothing, but you're following this woman in her early 20s, I believe. She's basically just having conversations with people. That's this entire book. It's just her like talking to people and having sex with them, and like that's it. That's this book. Yeah, it has a lot of talk about like the Tokyo nightlife music scene from like the 70s or the 80s. Honestly, this book is an entire blur in my mind because, like I said, nothing happens. You're literally just following this woman talk to people, and I wasn't a big fan of all the Tokyo like music talk, and I just wasn't a big fan of this book in general. It just kind of gave me nothing. Like I just felt very indifferent reading it. It did have some really good quotes that I picked out about relationships and her relationships with men, and you know, just some like interesting commentary. And that was about it. I honestly don't know what else to say about this book because I just felt very like emotionless reading this. I don't know. I went in with this with really high expectations and I just ended up feeling like, oh, that was it? I don't know. It was bizarre. Then my next 2-star was actually our book club pick over on Patreon, and that is Night Shoot by David Sodergren. So if you guys don't know, shameless self promo here. I have a Patreon. It's in the description box down below. The middle and higher tiers are book club tiers. So we meet once a month live and we discuss the book that we picked. So the highest tier votes, and this is the one that they voted on, and it's slasher. So basically, you know, this crew breaks into this like creepy house and they are trying to shoot a night shoot for a movie that they're filming. And you know, it's very much a play on 1980s cheesy slasher films, you know, and it just has that overall 80s slasher vibe to it where, you know, there's the sleazy director trying to get them to film, you know, nude shots, and the women don't feel comfortable about it. Literally half of this book was about a freaking how uncomfortable these women felt filming a nude shower scene or whatever. That was basically like this entire book. And then something happens in this mansion where people start being picked off one by one. It's just a slasher. I don't really have much to say about this. I felt like, and most of the people on my Patreon were kind of like, it was okay. A lot of 3 stars being thrown out. I gave this a 2. There was like 1 or 2 people that really liked it because they love slasher books. And you know, it's nothing new, it's nothing different. But also, I mean, I guess this one was a little bit different because it had this really weird turning point in the book where this like weird plot thing happened that legitimately did not make sense, and I was very confused. And then during the live I was like asking people, was this like what was going on with this, and no one really had a solid explanation. I think we were all confused. It was just not the best book to discuss, I guess, because first of all, not a lot happened, and second of all, that weird thing happened with this mansion, and I was just, at that point, the fact that I was that confused reading a slasher book, I was like, okay, this can't be more than 2 stars for me because I don't get it. I also hate slasher books, so keep that in mind. I've never read a slasher. There was one slasher that I read, and it was Night of the Prowler by John Athen that I enjoyed. That's extreme horror, but like the other ones, they give me nothing. Next, I think we're moving into some 3-star books. The first one being Dead Animals by Phoebe Stooks. Is that how you pronounce this? This is from the UK, so you can only get this, well, I can only get this from Blackwell's online. That's where I ordered this. But it's like an unhinged woman book where we're following this woman who we find out is assaulted by this man, and her memory's a little hazy, but slowly throughout the book she starts kind of remembering what happened to her, and you know, she starts remembering more about this man, and she runs into this woman, Helen, who turns out was also a victim of this man, and they form a friendship, and she becomes obsessed with Helen. She is infatuated with her. Like, her entire life revolves around like thinking about Helen now. And this is short, it's a novella, so I don't want to say too much else. It's very uneventful. It sounded so much better than how it read. It just was like, oh, I'm going to my job now as a waitress. Like, it was very slow. Like, for a novella, I wish more would have happened, and then the end happened and it just didn't have the payoff that I was hoping it had. I don't really remember this book, if I'm being completely honest. All I remember is that this book kind of gave me like Eileen by Oteza Moshfegh vibes, but written worse. I don't know. Overall, it was okay. I gave it 3 stars because it did have a lot of commentary about like being a victim of assault and like how you feel, and like a lot of commentary about that and metaphors and things for, you know, victims of abuse. And I appreciated that about this book, but overall, like, it just kind of missed the mark for me. Like, it just, I don't know, like, it could have been so much better in my opinion. Then I read The Old Lady by Christopher Triana. This was another buddy read with my patrons and I in the Discord. So basically this book is about this woman, Tracy. Her dad was a Vietnam vet, and he left her this cabin secluded in the woods, and he just passed away. So she goes to this cabin and she finds there's a group of teenagers that are lost, and there's like these people attacking them, and they're in this dangerous situation. So they kind of find our main character Tracy, or our main character Tracy is kind of dealing with all of these demons and like PTSD and her anxiety, and she goes into like full combat mode, and it's basically like my friend said, it's like a female Rambo, basically. It's non-stop action, 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 guns, like craziness going on, murders. There's all kinds of shit that goes on in this book, and it was a little too action heavy for me. It was just non-stop like boom, 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 boom action, and I am not someone that enjoys books like that because I'm just a very character-driven reader, so a lot of action bores me actually. So I just felt like this was a little bit too long. Like, it was just non-stop things happening, but I do think it was really well written. I did like Tracy as an unhinged female main character, and I also really liked the ending of this one as well. It was like a little predictable, but I liked the way that it ended. So overall, I gave this 3 stars. I would recommend it if you are like an action person. If you like action in your books, definitely check this one out. And then I read The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath. Finally, I'm like the last person on earth to read this book about a woman who is suffering from a mental breakdown, really. Dealing with depression, and you know, the first half of this book is very, 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 very slow. We're just learning a lot about her life, her day-to-day life, her relationships with people, like, you know, random things. And then the second half of the book is about her stay at a psychiatric facility. Learning about this author, about Sylvia and her battle with her mental health, and the fact that she committed suicide, and learning about her life and what was going on with her, I think made this book more impactful. And it's like, oh, this was kind of like real. And I'm sure the author felt this way a lot of the times, and like a lot of the things that she wrote were like her personal struggles. And so I think that gave this book more meaning to me, because otherwise this book was very all over the place. Like, the actual writing itself felt jumbled because it was kind of told in like vignettes and like I don't know, it wasn't a continuous story, if that makes sense. It was just told in this like choppy way, where I feel like my friend Chris said it would have worked better as diary entries, and I think I agree with him on that, because it was very, I'm like, wait a second, what is going on here? So I just felt like it wasn't as impactful to me as I thought it was going to be, but knowing the author's history made me give this 3 stars. Like, I still recommend it, and I think it is an important piece of literature, and you know, sheds light on mental health and mental health issues, and so I really appreciate it for that fact. But as a book itself, it was okay. And I had one 3.5, and that's Dead Inside by Chandler Morrison. If you saw my I'm losing my mind. If you saw my video on this book, I did a full spoiler video. I'll leave it linked. where I basically just cover to cover spoil this entire book. This one is, if you don't know, it's about a guy who fucks dead people, and then he works in a hospital and he comes across this doctor, this woman who eats dead babies, and they strike up a relationship. Okay, that is this book. You're basically following him as he starts to have feelings for a human being, which has never happened before. It's very much, it's full satire, like poking fun at the extreme horror splatterpunk genre, but then at the same time, you're following this like relationship drama and the things that go on. It is graphic, it's disgusting, it's meant to be over the top, it's meant to be silly, you know, and it's not, like, the graphic, gory books are really not my favorite thing in the world anymore. I did really appreciate this book for the characters and this relationship and the drama that was going on with them. So I did really appreciate this book. I liked it. It was funny at times, and I just overall thought the story was really well written. You guys know I love Chandler Morrison. I love his books. Like, his other books are almost all 5 stars for me, like just back to back to back bangers, okay? And this one is my least favorite, but like, I get it. I understand why it was done. When I first read this book 3 years ago, I gave it 1 star because I didn't get it. I was like, wait, I never read extreme horror or splatterpunk before. So I was like, what the fuck am I reading? And then it took me this long to realize, oh, that was satire about the genre as a whole. Yeah, I love that. But yeah, if you don't want to read this book, go check out my spoiler video. If you don't want to read this book, go check out Chandler's other books that, in my opinion, are amazing. So yeah, I guess my reading month was okay because I had 5 5-star books. The first one being The Haters by Robin Harding. This is a new thriller that just came out. This is about this author who, you know, she releases a book and then she gets a 1-star review on Goodreads or whatever it is. That person basically sends her a disturbing email that she just cannot forget. And it's like this email accusing her of some horrible things about her book. And she starts spiraling, like thinking about this message, and then next thing you know, she's getting like 1-star review after 1-star review. All these people are attacking her, and this person's like attacks and revenge on her are getting more and more personal. So things start happening in her personal life and she's wondering if someone's stalking her. So yeah, I really enjoy books like these. It was quick, easy, fast-paced. It was just, it's a book that got me out of a slump at the time, so I appreciated it for that fact. But yeah, we're just following this author spiraling, and she's a social worker, so it does have some like teen drama in there that I wasn't a big fan of, but because this book was just entertaining to me, I had to give it 4 stars because it did what it was written to do. It entertained me, so. Home is Where the Bodies Are by Geneva Rose. This is another thriller, same concept. It entertained me. So we're following this family, these 3 siblings. They come back together after their mother passes away, and they start looking through, there's a whole bunch of VHS tapes and tapes from their childhood. They pop one in. On this VHS tape, we see the father who is on video with a dead girl at his feet, and there's blood all over him, and he's asking the wife to basically cover up the body. So that is the video that we see, and they start digging deeper into their childhood, and you know, their father left them, so they're trying to figure out what happened with the father. They're trying to figure out what happened with this girl, and was it a murder? Like, what exactly happened here, and why was their mother covering up the situation for their father their entire lives? So that's it. I really just enjoyed the family dynamics of this one. The writing, Geneva Rose's writing has gotten so much better, and I really enjoyed like the slow burn kind of grief exploration and family exploration, the family drama. This was a slower paced book and I appreciated that. I love slower paced thrillers, and overall it just kept me really hooked and engaged. I'm not the biggest fan of the twist. It was a little predictable, like it was typical thriller ridiculous territory at the end of the book, but it still entertained me. So once again, I gave it 4 stars. Then I have The Year of Magical Thinking by Joan Didion. This is her memoir about her husband passing away, and in that same year her daughter was in the ICU. So we're just, you know, following her and her take on grief, and basically her, you know, coming to terms with grief and processing that through her writing. And so those chapters with her husband passing away and like her talking about the events leading up to that and her grief and like her daughter being in the hospital and what was going on with her daughter and like all these like healthcare things, and I just felt like this was a punch in the gut. This was so sad, but also the reason I gave it 4 stars and not 5 is because there were some things where she was just rambling on and on about like random things and about like name dropping like people that came to dinner with her, and like, I don't know, sometimes it just took me out of the story. Like I felt like it was really emotional and then it just like stops and then goes into some like random story. So I just felt like sometimes I was taken out of the overall point and picture because of the writing, but I was super invested in what was going on with her, and my heart just like broke because grief is a touchy subject for me, and also like healthcare in general is a touchy subject for me. I've worked in healthcare full time, and like I saw people die. I saw people in critical condition. I've seen people, you know, struggling with their health, and I have health issues, and like I think about, you know, my own personal life. So this overall just felt like a gut punch to me, and just the way that she describes grief and how, you know, 1 second you're, sorry, my camera just died, but yeah, how like 1 second we're here and we're fine and the next second we're gone, and it just puts like life into perspective in general. So I did really enjoy this one, and I really would love to read more from her. I'm just throwing shit on my floor now. Next, Anna Dorn. I love her. I read Perfume and Pain, and this is a book about this author who basically gets canceled. She says something crazy at like a Barnes and Noble, and she is in this like Sapphic Scribes writers group on Zoom, and there's a new member of the group and she becomes obsessed with this woman Ivy. And so we're following her like and her obsession. She's unhinged and she starts like popping pills and drinking all the time. So she's just headed towards this like downward spiral, self-sabotaging sort of thing. And then she gets a new neighbor, Penelope, who is like living off of Urban Outfitters settlement money and is kind of a hot mess. And so we're following her relationships with these 2 women, and then also like we get to know her gay best friends. And this book was very much just like gay drama, like lesbian drama. I don't know how else to describe this book, but it was so fun. I just loved reading from our main character's perspective, Astrid, and just her unhinged crazy thoughts and just the things that she was doing. I just overall really enjoyed this one. It's just fun vibes. Fun, easy reading vibes. We get to meet a whole slew of crazy LA characters, and it's like a tribute to lesbian pulp fiction novels, I guess. So yeah, I enjoyed this one. I do think it was a little bit long. Like there were some parts that were dragging a lot. But overall, it was a fun time. Then my next 4-star was Better by Far by Hazel Hayes. This one is a book where this couple breaks up. So they're in their 30s and they live together, but they break up. So they basically have this arrangement where they're going to each live there separately. So like one week she stays there, the next week he stays there, etc. They kind of take turns. And it's our main character trying to process this breakup. But not only that, she's also dealing with grief in general. So it's a book about grief and her dealing with loss of not only her boyfriend, but of her mom who passed away when she was a kid. And this book was very relatable to me. I went through a similar situation. I also, like, my mom passed away, and like just reading from this perspective was very relatable to me. And it was very philosophical. Like, it goes deep into thoughts and processing emotions and her experiences growing up. And it wasn't just like, oh, sad romance breakup book. It was like a deep dive lit fic book into grief and loss. That is what this book is. It almost makes grief like a main character. And I just really enjoyed the commentary, the quotes, and where this ended up going in the end. Overall, this book was very meaningful. There were some times where it felt a little bit choppy because of, you know, the back and forth of, you know, it's like one chapter is like her nightmare, and then the next chapter is her past, and then it felt kind of all over the place sometimes, but overall very well written, and I can't wait to read more from Miss Hazel Hayes. And my 1 5-star book was The Sluts by Dennis Cooper. I love this book so much. I ate this shit up, okay? So this is a disturbing, graphic, fucked up version of Gossip Girl. I'm not even kidding. Hear me out, okay? So in this book, we're following this guy, Brad, okay? And we're basically reading reviews. It's all mixed media, so we're reading reviews from this gay male escort website where people can go on and, like, you know, review escorts, whatever. And all of these reviews are about this guy, Brad. We don't know who Brad is, but we're learning about him from these reviews. And people are becoming more and more obsessed with Brad and his drama and his life story and what the hell's going on with him. You know, it's like one review says he's great, he's wonderful. The next review is like, oh, he was really weird, like he didn't seem right. And then you start learning about drama, okay? And the relationships that Brad has and the men that he is involved with. And things start getting more and more sinister and disturbing and fucked up. And, you know, then we start reading emails, faxes, we start reading, you know, some phone call conversations, lots of different things. We go back to reviews again, you know, messages from the webmaster. They're all trying to figure out this mystery of Brad and who Brad is, if Brad is real. And it's very much, you know, commentary about anyone can be anyone online. You have no idea who you're talking to. You have no idea if people are real or not. And that's the whole purpose of this book. It's like, who is real, who is not real, what is going on? It's a mind fuck. And it's scary to think about that people are like this online, that you don't know who you're talking to. You don't know who you're engaging to. I don't know who's watching this video right now. I don't know who is talking to me online. You can be fucking fake for all I know. And it's just very scary to think about the internet. And this is also from like the early 2000s, you know, old school internet days, chat rooms, that sort of thing. And it's scary. You know, there are a couple very disturbing scenes, and the ending, personally, I like how things ended up playing out in the end. This was just very entertaining for me, and I felt like that meme of, you know, the guy from It's Always Sunny where he's like at the board with the red string. That's how I felt reading this book. I was trying to piece the puzzle pieces together, but I feel like you don't even need to do that. Like, you just need to read this book it's just all vibes, you know, like just go with the flow and trust the process. I really enjoyed this one a lot, and I was scared because I wasn't the biggest fan of Closer, but now I'm like, I think I need to continue with that series because I want to travel the world with Dennis Cooper. So that is it. Those were the 13 books that I read in July. If you read any of these and you like them, let me know in the comments down below, or let me know what your favorite book was that you read in July, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!